Your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart.
You weren't born passive. You weren't born distracted. You came into this world wired for wonder. Your first instinct was to reach, to touch, to ask. But over time, they replaced your questions with answers. Pre-packaged, pre-approved, safe. Now you wake up and consume noise. You chase pleasure. And still, something inside you aches for depth, for mystery, for the spark you forgot how to find. But 5 centuries ago, a man refused to forget. His name was Leonardo da Vinci. And he wasn't just an artist. He was an engineer of consciousness. While the world slept, he rewired his brain. While others conformed, he asked better questions. While most learned to obey, he learned to see. This video is not about talent. It's about design. Da Vinci didn't wait for inspiration. He constructed it through rituals of curiosity, sleep manipulation, and deep psychological immersion. And here's the truth no one tells you. You can do the same. Because what Da Vinci tapped into wasn't divine. It was human. A system of mental architecture built not on memory, but on obsession. He didn't chase knowledge, he seduced it. So the real question isn't, was Da Vinci a genius? The real question is, what did he know about the brain that we forgot? They trained the genius out of you. Let's take it back. They didn't see what he saw because they didn't ask like he asked. Leonardo da Vinci didn't have a smartphone, a degree, or a productivity hack. He had a cognitive engine, a system, a set of habits that turned obsession into vision and vision into reality. You were taught to specialize. He blurred the lines. His day didn't begin with routine. It began with curiosity. One question opened a dozen doors. Why do birds glide? How does water move? What lies beneath the surface of the human soul? And he followed each one, not with answers, but with experiments. He questioned like Socrates, saw like a painter, dissected like a surgeon. His mind was a web, not a ladder. A system of cross-disciplinary thought where science merged with art and mechanics danced with aesthetics. He didn't think in subjects, he thought in systems. They mastered integration. They knew no boundary between the poetic and the empirical. Da Vinci documented everything, pages upon pages of reflections, speculations, and diagrams. But this wasn't journaling. This was engineering consciousness, what Carl Jung later called active imagination, a dialogue between the conscious and unconscious mind. Through obsessive documentation, Da Vinci turned the invisible into the visible. Ideas became forms. Forms became tools. Tools became theories. When was the last time you wrote down your questions? Not to answer them, but to chase them. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, the father of flow theory, would have recognized the signs. Total immersion, loss of time, a unity between action and awareness. Da Vinci lived in flow before we had a name for it. He didn't wait for inspiration, he entered it on purpose. Every sketch a gateway, every diagram a spell. They knew that clarity didn't come from stillness, it came from motion, the relentless act of creation. This wasn't talent, this was design. You don't need to be Da Vinci, but you do need a system. They weren't bound by time. While others dreamed once per night, he dreamed in fragments. 6 times a day. Leonardo da Vinci followed a polyphasic sleep cycle, 20 minutes of rest every 4 hours. No full night's sleep. No surrender to unconscious routine. He didn't just sleep less. He entered altered states on demand. You've been taught that sleep is a passive act. But what if it's a portal, a workshop? What if your dreams are the lab where creativity is assembled? Modern neuroscience confirms what Da Vinci intuited centuries ago. REM sleep is where your brain consolidates memories, forges connections, and reshuffles raw data into insight. Da Vinci wasn't just hacking time, he was hacking mind. He dipped in and out of REM cycles, using micro naps to disrupt conscious filters. To enter a phase between waking and sleeping, hypnagogia. They knew the threshold is where creation begins, where rules dissolve and images emerge untamed. Salvador Dali used it. So did Edison. Napping with a spoon in hand, ready to catch the moment between control and chaos. The second your logical brain releases the wheel, your unconscious steps forward with raw material. This is where ideas live before they have names. You call it sleep. They called it entry. A deliberate fall into the unknown to bring back treasure. And what drives someone to blur the lines between rest and creation? Nietzsche called it the Übermensch, the one who rises above the limits of biology, convention, and comfort. Da Vinci didn't sleep like a human. He slept like someone designing the next version of one. He wasn't trying to rest, he was trying to ascend. They understood that optimization wasn't just about tools, it was about state. You don't build extraordinary things in ordinary consciousness. You don't need to copy his sleep cycle, but you do need to reclaim your altered states. Because the best ideas, they come when you're not thinking, but when you're becoming. They didn't wait for the muse, they summoned her. Leonardo da Vinci didn't believe in sudden bursts of divine inspiration. He engineered the state where inspiration becomes inevitable. What you call focus, he called fusion. A merging of thought and act, body and idea. Modern science calls it flow. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi described flow as the optimal state of consciousness, a place where time distorts, the self disappears, and performance skyrockets. This wasn't luck, it was structure. You felt it before, those moments when the world vanishes and only the task remains. You weren't working, you were the work. Da Vinci lived there, not occasionally, consistently, by design. He followed a neurochemical trail few knew existed. Every time he discovered a new idea, a new puzzle, dopamine lit up his brain like a cathedral. Novelty, curiosity, mastery. These weren't side effects. They were fuels. They structured their day around questions, not answers, because each question became a trigger for flow. Modern neuroscience confirms this path. During flow, the default mode network, the system responsible for self-criticism and wandering thought, deactivates. You stop thinking about yourself and start becoming the work. That's why Da Vinci could sketch for 12 hours straight. Why he dissected corpses, studied birds, painted and theorized with no line between tasks. It wasn't discipline, it was immersion. You've been told to avoid distractions. But Da Vinci eliminated identity. He stopped being Leonardo and became the thing he was creating. Your mind is a machine, but only in flow does it fly. He didn't get there by accident. He triggered it through complex tasks at the edge of his ability, silence and solitude, relentless, joyful curiosity. They weren't waiting for the world to give them meaning. They built meaning through flow. Want to think like Da Vinci? Don't chase results. Chase the state, because creativity isn't a flash of lightning. It's a fire you learn to tend. They weren't curious the way most people are. They didn't just ask questions. They weaponized them. Leonardo da Vinci turned curiosity into a system, an operating manual for the human mind. Not an emotion, a method, a structured, repeatable path to genius. Neuroscientist Norman Doidge described this ability as neuroplasticity, the brain's capacity to rewire itself in response to repeated stimulation. Da Vinci didn't just observe the world, he stressed his mind into higher complexity. Every new question triggered the formation of new connections. Every act of wonder was a rep, a mental repetition, a cognitive deadlift. You think curiosity is a feeling, but it's actually a discipline. Da Vinci trained it like a muscle, daily, obsessively. These weren't idle musings. They were targets, each one piercing through the veil of the unknown. They practiced something modern neuroscientists now call open monitoring awareness. Instead of focusing attention on one thing, they cultivated broad perception, watching the world without judgment, without narrative. This form of awareness, once spiritual, now scientific, expands cognitive flexibility. It trains the brain to tolerate ambiguity, to hold competing truths, to see what others miss. This wasn't passive observation. It was active cognitive rebellion. Socrates once said, "Wisdom begins in wonder." But he didn't mean feel it. He meant live it. Da Vinci was the Socratic method made flesh. Every sketch, every hypothesis, every dissection of a cadaver or deconstruction of a smile was an act of defiance against certainty, against ignorance. He asked until the question itself became a kind of art. You scroll, he sketched. You consume, he constructed. The difference? He didn't seek answers. He sought expansion. Each subject wasn't a silo. It was a bridge. Curiosity, when structured, collapses walls between disciplines. It forces the brain to unify ideas, to interlock knowledge like gears in one massive mental engine. They didn't follow curiosity. They commanded it. Every question was a lever, bending the universe just slightly more into focus. Curiosity is not a feeling. It's a system. Use it like Da Vinci did, and the mind won't just grow. It will evolve. They weren't born with superpowers. They didn't wait for inspiration to strike. They built the future inside their mind, one obsession, one question, one sleepless night at a time. Leonardo da Vinci wasn't a genius because he was different. He became a genius because he acted differently. You were told genius is a gift, a lottery of DNA, something they have, and you don't. But what if you've been lied to? What if genius is a system, a way of living, thinking, sleeping, seeing, a method, not a miracle? You already have the tools. Curiosity, focus, sleep, silence, obsession. You already have the raw materials. So the question isn't, can you become extraordinary? It's, why haven't you? They broke time into fragments and rearranged it. They carved open questions and studied their bones. They seduced the universe into revealing its secrets, not by waiting, by engineering genius like a machine. Every system Da Vinci used, from polyphasic sleep to structured curiosity, from flow states to Socratic questioning, is already available to you, not behind a paywall, not locked in a lab, but in your daily habits, in your attention, in your next question. And if you don't use them, someone else will. They will design while you scroll. They will build while you hesitate. They will become while you wait for permission. You've seen the equation. You've glimpsed the engine. You know the method. The only thing left is this. What's stopping you?